All right, welcome everybody to the Solar Consultant Network's Monday Forum. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If you are listening to us over and over again, we're glad that you find such great value. We are a group that is united together to share insights on solar to help and accelerate the adoption of solar worldwide. And tonight, we couldn't be more excited with our guests. So first off, we have a couple people on here I want to acknowledge. We have Andy Smith on here. Andy Smith is the first person that I ever talked to about getting in solar back in 2016. So I want to say thank you, my friend, for talking to me about solar because it certainly changed my life. And then Andy also talked to another woman named Carol Cole Lewis, who will be our guest tonight as well. And so I just think it's really amazing that we're all united here. You know, we've been in the solar industry since 2016, and we're really just getting started. So Carol, she lives up in Northern California. She lives in a historic walnut farm. I got to go up there and get to see her beautiful farm, and she even taught me how to row. In addition to that, she's very passionate about solar, about batteries, and really understanding California's solar inside and out. She's been a mentor to so many people within the solar industry. So we asked her to join us tonight to talk about the NEM 3. What does that mean for your homeowners? And what does that mean for you as solar consultants? So Carol's going to give a nice brief overview. And then if you have any questions, please hold off in the chat bar with them. And then once she's finished, we'll go ahead and open it up for a Q&A. So Carol, thank you so much for joining us tonight. The Zoom is yours.
Well, thank you, Melissa. I'm so excited to be here. And okay, I'll just continue the love fest. Thank you, Andy, for bringing me here. Melissa, I'm so grateful for you to be in my life. One of the things you'll find if you're relatively new to Powur is that this is more than a business. This is more than a career. This is really a family. And we grow, love, and support each other. And we've formed really deep relationships in here that help us establish wins in all areas of our lives, not just in the financial area, but in health and in wellness too. And to that end, I'm also going to make a shout out to Melissa that both of us have just recently been accepted into Jim Bunch's coaching program. So we will be doing happy, healthy, wealthy 90-day challenges in the new year. So we're hoping that you'll sign into those. We're excited to be able to offer those. So I know that's not why you were here. You're here to learn about NEM 3. Let's put it this way. I am not a super expert in this. I am just a few steps ahead of you. And the reason I say that is I am a member of the California Solar and Storage Association. And if you are doing business in California, you really do need to be a member of this association. There's tremendous resources in there to learn all about solar in California, all about proposed policies and rate changes and things like that. So these slides that I'm about to share with you are from a webinar on November 14th from the California Solar and Storage Association. So I'll be putting a number of links in the chat of things that I share, and you can have a copy of these slides too when I'm done. I will also put that link in the chat as well. So we're ready to get started. I will share my screen. This one. Okay, here we go. And can you see my screen? NEM 3 revised proposed decision. Fantastic. Okay, and as I say, this was from a webinar done on November 14th, shortly after the ruling came out in the state of California. What I am going to do is share with you my notes that I have taken on this topic. So let's just dive right in. So this net billing revised proposed decision, PD stands for proposed decision. The NEM 3 was released on November the 10th. And final oral arguments on NEM 3 were heard on November 16th. And comments are happening between November 30th and December 5th, with the vote scheduled for December 15th. There is a possibility that this vote will not happen on the 15th because there haven't been a lot of time for comments. That's barely a week for comments. But everything else they'll probably hold firm to. So maybe the vote might be delayed a couple of weeks or something like that, but not sure. Right now, this is the time frame for what's going to happen. The reason we had the rallies last week on December 1st was because of this vote that is scheduled for December 15th. So now let's get into some of the depths of what this ruling happened, what net energy metering is right now, and what are some of the things that it has and doesn't have in it. So let's look at this. First of all, there was this big issue about solar tax, how they were going to charge a tax on anybody that had solar, a big upfront fee right at the beginning, where you'd get charged about an extra $15 or so per kilowatt in terms of the size of your system. Well, that's not happening. There's not going to be any grid access charge, no behind the meter self-generation charge. They're going to take their money somewhere else, but it's not in a solar tax. So that's good news. The other good news is that there are no retroactive changes. There was a discussion that they were going to reduce the grandfathering from net energy metering 2 to 15 years and 1 to 15 years. That is now not happening. An agreement is an agreement. 20 years is 20 years. So NEM 2, NEM 1, if you're grandfathered in, you're still grandfathered in as long as you don't make changes to your system. And there are no new rate requirements in this new net energy metering 3 as well. So that's good news. Now let's look at the transition to net energy metering 3. Net energy metering enrollment is going to end 120 days after the decision is final. Now pay close attention to this, so that when net energy metering actually comes on board, which is April 14th, if the timeline holds true to what it is, you will qualify for being grandfathered into net energy metering 2 if you submit a complete application. And what that means, it's going to have to be the application to the utility, the signed contract. I forget what SLD means. I don't know, maybe somebody knows that TLA, 3-letter acronym. The CSLB disclosure is the one that is the consumer protection guide. That's what's actually included in there. And this oversizing attestation, which I'll come on to a bit later, you don't need to submit a final building permit. In effect, what you have to submit is you have to get your customer to sign the Powur documents DocuSign. They have to sign that document, which will contain all of those, and will be able to submit a complete application by April 14th. Now, one of the cool things about setting a complete application in at that stage is that the next line, there's no deadline to complete the construction. Now, what we were told on the webinar is that there are some people who have submitted an application for NEM 1 that was accepted, and they still haven't installed, and their NEM 1 agreement will still be honored. So here's the little sales tip here that I can give you here, is that if you have a customer who is even thinking about going solar and would want to make a decision, is going to do it next year, make sure they sign their contracts before April 15th. In fact, make sure they sign it before April 1st, really, so we get time to process it satisfactorily. And that way they can have that contract on file, and we'll be able to grandfather them into NEM 2. So this next bit here, after the 120-day period, what will happen is that, of course, they don't have all the NEM 3 billing apparatus installed in the back end of all these utilities. So they're going to bill on NEM 2 until they have NEM 3 available. And that's what will happen. That's how you transition into NEM 3 if you miss the April 15th deadline. The nice thing here is that NEM 2 customers can add a battery after NEM 3 start and not lose NEM 2 status. However, the challenge is that no one can increase the size of their grid, of their array, I mean, without incurring a change in their NEM status. So if you increase the size of your people that are looking to increase the size of their solar now should also be looking to do that before April 14th too, in order to stay in NEM 2, the NEM 2 rate plan. Okay, moving on. Now, this is the big area, and this is the biggest concern that we have about net energy metering 3. is the export compensation. The fact that we all now have super smart meters means that now PG&E has all this wonderful data. And so what they're doing is they're looking at hourly what they can give you for the solar that you produce. Now, the way they calculate the amount of compensation they're going to give you, and they call it export compensation, but really what it is, it's avoided cost. They are compensating you for the utility generation that you are producing that they do not have to produce. Because your solar is producing energy, they're going to compensate you for that generation. And they're going to produce it at their rate of their avoided cost. And we'll come on to that in our next slide here. I think that's the most, what this last point actually here, well, let me come on to this one too. For customers installing in the first 5 years of net billing, export compensation values are locked in for 9 years for residential customers and 5 years for non-residential. After that, they're going to float according to the single year values. That's because I'm guessing it's because it's a pain in the butt to figure out what these compensation values are. So anyway, you'll get locked into what your export compensation is going to be. That's if we go through with this. Down here at the bottom is really important to note. Adders for PG&E and SC residential customers. What an adder means is that if you are a care customer or a low-income customer, there are extra adders in terms of the amount of extra compensation that you will get for your exports as well. And to look at the way this looks, this is the average avoided cost value or your export compensation. You can see the graph to 2050. You can see right here, it's about 7 cents, and it's going to go up a little bit to maybe 15.5 cents. This little dip here has to do with the way their calculator, actually, it's a calculation error that their calculator had. But anyway, you can see that there will be, the value is going up, but it is nothing like what the value is today. You can see right now, this is what is, these are the adders right now. So if you're a residential non-care customer, you will get a little bit of a break of 1.5 cents for your, for the solar that you're producing. And the residential care customers will get about 8 cents. Then, as I say, these adders are based on a 9-year payback at $3.30 a watt for residential and $3.14 for small commercial. I don't know very many people right now that are buying their solar at $3.30 a watt. So I'm wondering what's happening with that. But anyway, this is my editorial comment on this. Now, customers with adders are going to get this constant adder, this number for 9 years. But if you're a new customer, this number will go down by 20% every year. So in other words, if you come in year 2, you're going to get 80% of the, the adder in year 2 is 14 cents, but you're only going to get, which is 80% of 18, it's not 18 cents, is it? It's 1.8 cents. And 1.4 cents, correct? It's not a lot of money, which brings me to this. This is a great article that I found, not this one. This is the one right here. This article, and I'll put this article in the chat. How drastically California NEM 3 reduces solar energy export rates. And this is really the issue, and this article has all the information you need in terms of understanding what really is happening. You see this catastrophic drop to what you're getting today, which is about 30 cents down to about less than 10 cents a kilowatt hour for the electricity that you're producing. So no longer are we going to get retail credit. It's avoided cost. You can see that what's happening in SDG&E, that's an 85, almost 86% reduction in export rate. In PG&E, it's 77%. And in SCE, it's 66% reduction in the amount of credit that you're going to get for your solar, sending that back to a grid. When this happened, and you can read on in this article, when this happened in Nevada and in Hawaii, it completely stopped the solar industry for a couple of years. So this is really concerning. And if they go through with this, this is the scariest part. I think, of the net energy metering ruling is these export rates. And this is what everybody is concerned about. But let's have a look at this. I just want to give you an example, and don't get too blinded by this. I'm just going to show you this. This will really make your eyes go blurry. But anyway, what this is, and you can see the areas in red. These are the months of the year, and this is the hours of the day. And you can see every hour they're going to change how much credit they're going to give you for that solar that you're producing. You can see in the months of March, April, May, you're getting 4 cents, 3 cents. Even at midday, you're getting less than a penny for the solar that you're producing. However, there is an opportunity and a green lining here. And just like everything, let's make some lemonade out of this if this sticks. Look at this in September and August and July. The reason why the avoided costs are so high here, and you're getting paid $2.54 between 6 and 8 o'clock at night, really, for this electricity that you're sending back to the grid. So what do you think this is a great opportunity to do? What do you want to do now? If we are stuck with this rate schedule, what will you want to do when you sell solar in California? And you can type that in the chat. And hopefully I have the chat somewhere here.
Overproduce.
What's that?
Overproduce.
Overproduce?
No, batteries is the key.
Batteries is the
They're
key.
way too expensive. They're way overpriced.
Oh, they are, but they won't have any choice if this happens, but hopefully it won't happen.
Well, we will have that debate later, but you can see that, in fact, I'm going to come on to something which I think might make a difference here in terms of batteries right now. And you can see that if you're sending electricity back to the grid at this, you can actually pay your batteries off in less than 9 years. This sort of thing will enable you, as long as you can send electricity back at the same time you're using it, and the apps in the battery are going to probably allow you to do that. This is a great reason to start becoming your own solar generation company. Just something to think about, okay? So I'm not going to go into the other graphs here. What will I come here? So as far as billing and true ups go, there's still going to be a monthly billing and annual true up, but I'm not quite sure exactly what this meant in terms of if they're going to have to pay everything they owe each month. CCA stands for Community Choice Aggregators. Those are customers that are buying their electricity generation from a green generation company here in the state of California. And you get a chance to change your true up date once. There is no interval netting except for virtual net energy metering and net energy metering aggregation. This is the one that we do mostly in Powur, net energy metering aggregation, and that's for customers with two or more meters on their account on the same property. At some point, you're going to have information available in real time. That is not going to happen right now. That will happen in time. But at least net energy metering is you're still going to be able to aggregate your energy usage between all of the meters. Now this is I'll just quickly go through, and you know what, I'm just going to mention this slide. It kind of goes on to what we were talking about before, in that you can see that between the hours of 1800 and 1959, if you're not storing your energy here, so if you're not storing your energy and you're sending it back, you can make quite a bit of money actually sending your electricity back to the grid during this time. I invite you to take a closer look at this slide and to go through it in depth to understand the details of this when you get my slide deck or you have a look at this video later. This is what it's going to look like, guys. This is not pretty. And these are available from the website right now. At least I haven't checked. I haven't seen if they're available. We can download the rate. So there's going to be one rate charge, and they're not going to have a separate rate charge for NEM customers. It's just going to be one rate, and it's going to be this avoided cost calculator that they're going to use to make the difference between residential customers without solar and residential customers with solar. So this is very important. And I think what I'm looking for is this to improve. So new SGIP funding. SGIP stands for the Self-Generation Incentive Program. It is a program in the state of California that has existed for over 20 years in order to support homeowners to go solar, but that's now not happening. It's just energy storage now. Right now, there is $900 million going to be available July 1st, and that's split kind of 60-30 between residential low income and residential non-low income. So most of our solar customers are going to fall into the $270 million. So you want to get them on the waiting list for this rebate. And the rebate for the residential non-low income storage comes out of the general budget line. That's what this is. And that rebate is about $2,500 for a 10 kilowatt hour battery, for each 10 kilowatt hour battery. Now, if you have a customer who is a low income customer, in other words, their income is below the 80% threshold for the net average of income for their community, and they are in a high fire threat district and have experienced at least two PSPSs, they are eligible for the equity resiliency budget line. That's this budget line here. That is where you get $1 per kilowatt hour for towards your battery, in which case it would probably cover the cost of the battery. So if you have customers that might fit into that, that will help offset. And now here's another editorial comment on this. It will cost the utilities nothing really, except to add a little bit more money into the SGIP funding for everybody to get this budget line. And what they really need to start doing is thinking about giving away batteries, because really I think their intention is to put batteries at a utility level, which is going to take years to get up to speed. It's so much easier if we're going to install them locally, and we'll bear the cost of getting them, to provide that back to the grid. So I'm hoping that SGIP is going to improve, and that's where it has to improve. Storage has to improve at the local level, and we have to get rebates for storage. And yes, I know the supply of lithium ion is abysmal right now. So really what we might want to do, and look at Powur, if we want to talk to Powur about this, is to really look at retrofitting, enabling our customers to go solar now, with the understanding as soon as batteries become available, we will be able to provide it to them, because that's going to be the key in the industry. And we'll learn more about this as this issue moves forward. Hopefully it might not come to this, but it's looking more and more like this might be a possibility. So one other thing I'd like to show you too is this podcast. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Barry Cinnamon and his energy show, but I will put the link in the chat for this particular episode. And this is an awesome episode. He goes into the details about what California is facing right now in terms of its energy, and how, and all of the issues with bankruptcies and stuff like that, and how he thinks California can solve its energy problems. Great podcast. He's a professional, been in the industry for over 30 years. I'd recommend signing up for this, and especially listening to this particular podcast. So let's see what else I have here. So go through that. This here. I don't know if you've been doing this. I have been doing this, oversizing my systems in California. you can oversize by 50%. They were a bit loosey-goosey on this for the last year or so, where you could oversize even more than that, especially if you're going to get an electric vehicle and other things. But right now they're going to limit your oversize to 50%. So this is a step backwards. And when you submit your application, you're going to have to attest to why you're oversizing your system. So that will count as a complete application. So this is not a good thing. And let's see, what else do we have here? No, that's a note from our sponsors. And this here, so let me go through some of the questions and answers very quickly that were raised by the participants in this webinar. We talked about what is an adder. The adder is a number that makes the export credit higher. What if a customer needs to change a product in the application? The thing is that if you need to change your product in an application once it's been submitted and the size of the system does not go up, you can amend the application and you do not need to resubmit. What constitutes a complete NEM application? SLD means you could probably use a standard design rather than an exact design for your solar. We're assuming that you don't need a permit to submit a complete interconnection application because you didn't in the past. Okay, what else do we have here? Okay, I think I'm going to leave it at that. I have a ton more questions here that people asked, and some of your questions that you might have now might be answered in this Q&A. But as I say, I'll be giving you the links to my slides and to the links that I mentioned during this presentation in the chat now. So I think that I am done here. So there you go.
Thank you so much, Carol. You know, I bet everybody, and I saw the chat bar and everything, everybody can see what a wealth of solar knowledge you are. This would be a really good opportunity if you feel good with it. Can you tell everybody about your up and coming book? Because I just think it's so cool that you are writing a book. And it's clear to the whole audience here how knowledgeable you are about solar. So can you tell us a little bit about the book, or is it supposed to be hush hush for
No, I will. But let me just address a couple of questions here. Jimmy, your question about low income in a wealthy neighborhood. You know what you can do is you could look for the average income in Google and then list the county. And what it does is it pulls from the census information. So that's how you tell the income for your community. So so what are solar clients? Why? Yeah. All right. Is that a rhetorical question? Why solar clients being penalized for going solar? I think that's philosophical. That's correct. County. Yeah. So there we go. So book. Any more questions before I tell you about my book, which I'm so excited about? This is my book. This is the proof copy. Go Solar with Confidence. How to buy a solar energy system that's right for you. And I wrote this book with you, the solar consultant, in mind. So that if you want to prove yourself as being knowledgeable, this is basically all the information a homeowner will need to go solar with an independent energy consultant. And all through the book, I mentioned a bonus area, and I also provide a link to my own Powur solar quote, get a quote from me, but you can change that to where this information is your information and not mine. So I actually have this on page 1 on the cover page of this document, which is here, the cover page. And you will be able to change this. So if you wanted to order these books for yourself to hand out for your customers, you can do that. So the book will be available on Kindle. There will be a pre-release in the beginning of January, first week of January. So you can order your Kindle version there and have a read to see if it's going to be helpful for you. And then the actual book will be available, I'm thinking the third week in January. Stay tuned for the exact dates, but it's ready to publish. I'm just looking to make sure that I have my launch campaign in place. So You guys are kind of first to hear about it. Some of the first people to hear about
Thank
it.
you so much for giving us that little sneak preview. So talk about a fun way for people to be able to advertise for themselves, but in a knowledge-based way. You know, I always think of us as consultants. We're just energy consultants. We don't even have to sell anybody because it's educating humans on solar and having them understand, does it make sense financially? And that's really all it is. So what a great way, Carol, for people to be able to be helpful and then have it still tie back to them for their personal business. So that's just wonderful. Thank you. And we'll have to have a book release, like launching party for you.
Hey, thank you. And one quick thing too, if you're looking for ways to grow your business, I am available. If you want to mentor with me for a project, we can do Go Solar with Confidence Zoom webinar, where I am your guest presenter. You can do this live where you are answering the questions in the room. And anybody that brings an electricity bill to the workshop, you can give them a free book and we'll set up appointments and then close them. That's how I built my business, with these workshops, because they're very effective in closing customers. It's much easier than knocking on a door. Instead of saying the same thing 50 times, you say it once in a room full of excited people. So there you go.
That is great. Thank you so much. Lisa, she'll want a signed copy of that for sure. That's what it says here in the comments. So
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
I need it signed,
Sure.
Carol.
Okay, I'll have a bunch of those available.
Oh wait, before we head out,
Andy.
Desi
And walnuts.
and walnuts. Yes, Desi has her hand up real quick.
Thank you, guys. Carol, I love the information, by the way. Thank you. You can share that with us about the net meeting 3.0. I love it. Very piece of information. And by the way, congratulations about the book. Can you explain me a little bit about the book? I mean, let's say, like, how can we use it? I would love to use it in presentations and shows and everything. But what we can do with you and what we can do without you. I mean, because we know it's your book, and I think that's a great tool, by the way. And thank you for sharing with us.
You're welcome. Really, the book is split into 3 parts, where the first part is talking to homeowners what utilities don't want you to know, a little bit about solar and net energy metering and how it works. It's essentially the deck that Charles produced, but I did it in my own words to educate people up front. So you're doing the beginning of that. And then the next part of it is, how do you read a solar proposal and how do you qualify yourself for solar? So if a customer reads this book, and somehow people take a book and will read it if they think they're going to get value from it, as opposed to watching a video or something like that. I don't know. That's the way I am. I'll take a book and I'll skim through it and use it. So Desi, really what you'll get from that is that your customers will, basically it's going to CYA too, right? Because if you've given them this, there's everything that you would need to say to them in order for them to make an informed decision. And there'll be more once I get the wording done, and when I launch the book, I'll have better wording, but that's just it off the top of my head. So does that answer your question, Desi?
Yes, dear. Thank you so much.
That was great.
Great. And if you like it, maybe maybe we might get a Spanish version of it, if you would be willing to translate. Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And Andy, go get them tonight. Have a great night. Thank you.
Yep. Bye, everybody.